Hello, welcome to this version 2.12 product release video for Salus3 Cloud. In this video, we're going to cover the new features and enhancements that have been made available in version 2.12, the bug fixes that have been carried out, and then a quick demo of the new features and enhancements. So to kick off with the new features and enhancements, within the fleet module, we have a new functionality called Fuel Up, which gives you or your drivers the ability to record vehicle refuelings. There is new confirm shift functionality within the rotor module. So 24 hours or the day before, staff are booked onto an event or a shift, they'll receive a text message which they can then confirm back to, which will then pre-populate in the Salus3 Cloud platform. Some of the enhancements which we have made, a number of enhancements within the cases module. So there are a number of tick boxes you can tick when creating an incident report form. Depending on which boxes you tick, there'll be now some additional detail fields. For example, if you're reporting an equipment defect or an issue with a piece of equipment, fields will become available to enter in the make, the model, the location, the asset number of the equipment involved. We have implemented some new cases categories in the drop-down lists. When an incident email notification is created, that now includes the organization name. That's particularly useful where the same email address may be used for multiple users or organizations where you've got more than one account. There is now a department drop-down field, and then linked to that a department email notification group, so emails can be notified to individual departments. And then there's also an additional functionality where you can enable permissions from the department drop-down, meaning that only sort of users within a department will be able to view and manage an incident record. Within the CRM module, when a service demand record is assigned to a new user, or the user that is currently assigned is changed, that will prompt an email notification to the new user so they know that they have a new record assigned to them. Then moving on to the HR module. So when updating the HR details, such as email address or mobile phone number, that will also update the linked user profile. As a result of that, we have removed the address fields from the user profile as they've become obsolete. We don't need to hold the address details of a user within their user account. That's held within the employee record in the HR module. And there's also the option now to customize the text on your public-facing HR portal, mainly your application pages. So there's 4 areas you can now include text. So at the top of the application form, at the bottom of the application form, on the document upload page, and on the final confirmation page as well. Then in PRF Manager Charts, we've introduced what 3 words address integration, which integration is a loose term. There's now a text field where you can input a what 3 words address, and then if an address is there, there'll be a button which will take you onto the what 3 words website for address navigation, especially if you're using a mobile device. Additional functionality to the event site footprints in the location box, the location type, site type. So if you select event site or footprint from the drop down box, you'll then see an additional drop down box where you can select a venue which you can customize. This is particularly useful if you sort of visit regular venues constantly, such as nightclubs, to save time to enter in full address details if you don't want to do that. And then there's also new functionality where you can email a copy of all the discharge advice to a patient or other contact. Within the rota module, we have added the date to the shift time column for in case you are creating events that have multiple shifts over multiple days. And we've also aligned the rota roles with the HR roles within the system. And then for that to work, it is going to require a bit of configuration, and we'll cover that in the demo. And there will be a knowledge base article as well on our knowledge base. And then just a couple of system related enhancements. So the daily log on the front page, the dashboard, we've moved that to above the system notices table. And there's also a new configuration option to open records in the new browser tab. This currently works in the cases module and the PRF manager charts module, and that will be expanded to other modules as development progresses. And then a quick look at some of the bug fixes we have resolved. There was an issue in the cases module, there's an issue on the dashboard with the outstanding actions, so that link's now working. And there was also, depending on what fields were completed, there was the inability to edit actions against an incident report, so that's been resolved. We've resolved some coding improvements to the event medical plans, where you particularly see sort of erroneous ampersand symbols throughout the PDF generation, so that's been resolved. There's the ability to delete libraries and folders within the organization admin area, and you can delete individual documents from the library module. There was an issue when creating a new user through the HR module. If you didn't fill in the username field, it would create it with a blank username. And obviously usernames are set, they can't be amended because they're linked to other records and audit functionality. So we've put some coding in to alert you if there's a blank username, so you can correct that before you commit to create the user record. In the rota module, if you're creating an additional shift to an existing event, the role box at the top of the page was a text box and not a drop down, and that is now a drop down that matches your HR roles. And then when rota events or shifts are being deleted, if any staff have sort of expressed their interest in covering that shift, they will still sit in the background, giving you an incorrect number on your dashboard page, saying, for example, you'd have 10 expressions, but only 3 would appear in the list. So there's the bug to delete those when you delete events. We had a couple of issues at the start of the month around disk space usage warning messages, given a negative number. So if you're going over your data usage disk space, you got a negative number, which obviously just provides a bit of confusion. So we've corrected that. And then the tablet menu, when logging in, quite often you see a blank green message box at the top of the page. So we have corrected that, and that's now gone. Within the information asset register module, the GDPR compliance chart was not displaying, it was displaying blank value, so we fixed that. And a couple of minor bug fixes in the PR manager charts. So once you'd locked a chart, you were still able to delete anatomic survey items, so that's been resolved. Again, for the cardiac arrest page, once the chart's locked, you can still edit that. So that's been resolved. And then on certain mobile devices, particularly iPads, Windows tablets, anything that potentially identifies not as a mobile device in the browser, we were getting a patient signature alignment error, where if you were signing, it would appear at the bottom of the box and not the top. So we have fixed that. If you are still getting issues with your patient signature alignments, there is an article on our knowledge base with some fixes that you can apply to hopefully correct that issue. And then just two system issues. The help link in the support portal, support module was linking to our old documentation portal, so that's been corrected. And we had a few issues with Google Map icons not displaying across the system, and that has been resolved as well. So quite a lot of features, enhancements, and bug fixes in this release. So we'll just load up the demo system and we'll cover off some of those key new features and enhancements. So to start with the fleet module and fuel up, the ability to record vehicle fuel ups, users will now see on their tablet menu when they log in on a mobile device, a new button at the bottom called vehicle fuel up. And within the fleet module, you'll also see a new fuel up button at the bottom of your menu bar. To create a new record, you can simply select the vehicle registration that you are wanting to record the information for. It presets the current date into the date field. And fuel type, you will have petrol or diesel here, and you can customize and add other values through your organization admin area. Number of liters, the number of miles currently on the odometer, and click next. It'll then give you a confirmation that you've recorded it and an overview of the information that has been submitted. Clicking the Finish button will then take you back to the tablet menu. The next new feature is the ability to enable shift confirmations. So within your organization admin area, if you go down to Rotor and then module settings, you'll now have a new option called enable SMS confirmation messages. What this will do is the day before an event or a shift is due to start place, providing we have a mobile phone number for the user within the user profile, and you have adequate SMS credits on your account. Staff members will receive a text message that looks similar to this, stating that they're booked on for a shift, including the date and time, and then the name of the shift for yourselves. To confirm your attendance, please reply with a number and why. The number will be a unique ID that links their response to the current shift. Once a user has replied to that text message, within a couple of minutes, it will auto-populate Salus3 cloud with a tick next to the name of the staff member, and hovering over the tick will give you the date and time that they confirmed their attendance. If you use any of the daily, weekly, date range kind of shift reports, you will also see a tick next to the staff name to show you that they have confirmed via SMS that they will be attending the shift. The idea around this is it just gives a bit of additional reassurance that staff members are going to arrive and turn up for their shifts that you expect, and you're not kind of getting any late minute dropouts or issues. So I did mention that you need to have SMS credits on your account to be able to send sort of text messages out. You can order those yourselves through the service centre, servicecentre.8bits1byte.co.uk. You can purchase a quantity of credits, and then as soon as they're applied to your account, messages will then start to send automatically, providing you've enabled the configuration option within Organization Admin. Moving on to the enhancements, so we'll start off with the cases module. When creating a new incident report, we mentioned there are some sort of new additional details fields. So when you select were there any witnesses, a text box becomes available for you to enter any data. Was any equipment involved? Tick boxes then, text boxes, sorry, apply you to fill in related information. And if it was a medication incident, some additional text boxes there. We have also added some more categories in across the types, just to help provide you with further reporting capability. When creating an incident report, and then upon submitting it, the notification email will now include your organization name, just as a bit of extra information. We also have a department drop-down field, and this is customizable within the organization admin area. So we go into cases and then departments, and here you can create your own departments. We mentioned before that there was the ability to set permissions and email notifications based on if a department has been used. You can do this. So once you've created your department, you'll have operations here by default. You can click on department members, and then you can go through and any users from your account that you'd like to be classed with that department, and also you can remove users as well by using the remove link. So if you'd like to utilize the permissions part of the department options, you need to turn it on under enable department members permissions. That's yes. By default it will be no, so if you leave it as no, then it will just use your standard cases manager security permission from your security group settings. There's also a new enable department members email notifications. So if that is set to yes, then any users that are listed under the department will get an individual email notification to let them know a new incident report has been submitted for their department. The next enhancement is in the CRM module. So we mentioned that if you assign a new service demand record to a user, or you change it from one user to another, you can have the users receive an email notification to make them aware. You'll need to enable this by going into the CRM module, and then we've got a new configuration option called service demand assignment notifications. Simply select that to yes to enable that functionality. So moving on to the HR module next, you now have the ability to customize the text that appears on your application page. So by default, we have a thank you sort of introduction text at the top, and then some more text before continuing. And then if we click next, we then become onto the document upload page, which has some more text. And then finally, once that's been done, an application confirmation page. So within your organization admin area, if you go into HR, and then there's a new link called web portal configuration. Again, here will give you the 4 boxes where you can go in and customize that and enter text to suit your needs. So the text in there will be defaulted to what's currently available on the application system. So yes, you can now go and customize this. If you need additional places to customize text, then obviously please do let us know through our support email address, and we can customize this further to help suit everybody's needs. So moving on to PRF Manager charts. So we mentioned what 3 words address integration. So you'll see within your locations table, you now have a what 3 words. We can just paste in an address and then click save. The system will take out any of the forward slashes because we don't actually require them in the system. Once you've got a what 3 words 3-letter address in there, you'll then have a button which will open up the what 3 words map, such as there. If you then were to go through and take it out, and upon save, the button then disappears. The next enhancement is around the location type and the ability to pre-select an address if you're selecting event site or footprint as an option. Before we can do anything here, we need to undertake some configuration. So we go to our organization admin area. We then want to select PRF Manager Charts and then Venues. What we need to do, we need to select our venue event location type, which is the same list box as your location type. So we want to select event site footprint, click update, and then we can go through and enter in our venue. We also have the option to make venues historic, so they won't display in the drop-down list, and make them active. Once we've completed this, and we go back to and we go into the PRF Manager Charts record, if we select the event site footprint, we now have a venue option list box where we can then select the venue. If we change this to something else, such as public street, you then get your normal address. Also, you can overwrite your location if you want to overwrite that, or use the address lookup. If you've got any other options that you configured in here, then you'll get these boxes down here, but only if you select event site footprint, you then get the option to select a predefined address or venue. And then the final enhancement for PRF Manager Charts is the ability to email discharge advice. So in this record, we've not actually given any advice, so let's just load our default head injury advice. We have a button here called email advice. If you have an email address captured already in the patient record from the patient tab, it will pre-populate it in there. If not, you can just be entering an address and then click email advice. Below, you'll see a copy of what will be sent. We can just click email. It'll then take you back to your activity page, advise you that the advice has been emailed to an email address, and then within the narrative, you'll have a copy of the date and time and what was emailed to the patient, contact, or email address that you entered. So moving on to the rotor module now. Briefly mentioned before that we've aligned the rotor roles with the HR module roles. So within Salus3 Cloud, if we go into the rotor configuration and then rotor defaults, we can see here that we have our default rotor staff roles, so first aid, advanced first aid, first responder, emergency care assistant, paramedic, doctor, control, support cycle. And all these are preset in the system, which you can, as an organization, enable to be displayed and used, or left as no, not to be used. And you can then define an hourly rate and a day rate for each role. So when you're going into the rotor module to create a new event, then what you had enabled would appear down here. Now, one of the issues which we were coming against is under HR and application employee grades, you can define your own employee grades here. And there's that disconnect between a HR application or employee grade and a rotor role type. And this is just a historic thing from as the system has expanded over the years. The two just haven't quite linked up correctly and not quite working as we were wanting and what customers and clients have been reporting. So what we have done is within the rotor defaults, so just so you can find it again, we go into rotor and then rotor defaults. We have an option to link a HR role to each of the first aid, the rotor roles. So in this case, I've linked our first aider role to first aid, our first responder role to first responder, paramedic to paramedic, and technician to technician Direct AAP. If you have other roles which you have created yourselves within the HR module, then yeah, these will appear, which you can then link up against the related roles. You can then still apply the hourly rates and the daily rates for each role type. Once you've linked a role, they will then appear down here. If you don't link a role, so for example, let's do advanced first aid, we're going to enable it, but we're not going to link it. Then when you go to create, you'll just see your advanced first aider. So you can have a mix and match if that's what you want, or you don't have to either. Now, by linking a HR role, it will also overwrite the display name. So we can see now here we've got first aider. So we'll do, let's use first aid as an example. I'm actually going to link the first aid to the paramedic HR role, just so I can demonstrate that when we create a new shift, it's now titled paramedic. So when you link a HR role to a rota staff type, the description of your HR role will overwrite this title within the system. So we'll just go through now and create this shift. We'll create this for tomorrow. This is going to be rugby. Quickly just fill some of these in. 10 till 4. I want one first aider, one first responder, one technician, and one paramedic. And then create shifts. What we can now see is we have the first aider, first responder, paramedic, and technician roles as we have in our HR grades. You can also see the shift time now includes the date as well, just for clarity. And then when going to create an additional shift, we now have the roles in a drop-down box to make sure that we're only creating the roles that we have within our organization. When creating the shifts. Again, it will by default use your hourly rates and daily rates. We are looking at the possibility of recording hourly rates and daily rates per employee as well. You'd have a configuration option to turn that on or off depending on how you work. So hopefully this enhancement will address some of the issues where we've got that disconnect between job titles, role titles for when people apply. You call a first responder a medical responder, and that terminology isn't in the rota module. Knowing what people can apply for can be a bit confusing. So we're hoping that will resolve that. So also with aligning the rota roles with the HR roles, there's a slight change as well to the role apply rules within the HR module on the employee's record. So if we go to role apply rules, add individual role, this will now only show you your active roles within the rota defaults here. Again, I mentioned before, the linked HR role will overwrite the display title. That also happens in here as well. If I go on and just turn on control, it's not linked, for example. Just refresh the page, we now have control at the bottom of the list box. So hopefully when adding in sort of the role apply rules, you're going to get a less messy box. By default as well, providing that the employee has, well, it will work, sorry. We will have a grade of first aider. By default, the first aider grade will be in here. So they'll always be able to apply for their own role. It's not going to rely on you going in and manually adding it. If you don't use the restrict role application option, there's an article in our knowledge base. Essentially, it allows you to stop staff from applying for roles outside of what's in their list box. So in this case, this user will only be able to apply for a first aider role. They won't be able to apply for a first responder, a technician, or a paramedic role. And then the two final enhancements. So we've moved the daily log on the dashboard. So if you're an administrator, you'll see between upcoming shifts and daily log our system notifications, such as our upgrades and information and critical information that you need to be aware of. That will now appear underneath your daily log table. We've had a number of requests for that. And then finally, within organization admin and general, it's not here right now, but it will be at the point that the release goes out. There'll be another drop down here to enable opening records in a new browser tab. So essentially, when you go and click on the record in the CRM module, for example, it'll open it in a new tab. Especially if you do that from a table, you won't lose your position in the table. It's just there to make things a little bit easier. And that's there to allow you to turn it on and off as per your individual requirements. So that's the demo complete of the new features enhancements. Quite a few, sorry, in this release. So it has taken a bit of time, which I do apologise for. But for a lot of the new features around things like the HR and rota role alignment, the SMS messages, the configuration of the portal, all of that will be available on our knowledge base with some help articles on what you need to do to configure your part of the system. So as usual, our roadmap plan for the upcoming releases, I think right the way up to June, July, is available on our knowledge base at the link below. As usual, that's constantly sort of changing and in progress. So that is available to take a look at. And then another reminder about Arcani. We seem to mention this in all our videos. So Canny is where you can log your new feature requests, enhancement ideas, and bug reports, and also upvote sort of requests that like to see implemented. Over the past month, had a lot of interest. It's really good because it helps give us the direction on kind of where to take the sort of development journey and what people are after. And it helps us to prioritize our sort of development roadmap. You'll Some of you will have noticed we have sort of two-way discussions, and then sort of other users get on board as well and sort of either agree or disagree, and it really helps with developing the system to kind of do what you want to do, especially around sort of new functionality and new features. I know we've got, I think there's 2 or 3 new module requests that have come out, so we need to look at that and see when we can plan those in. But so for March so far, yeah, 32 new posts and 137 votes, which is amazing. So thank you for using Canny. You can access it, the URL there on screen, salus3.canny.io, or you can log your feature requests and bug reports and all that through our standard email, support@salus3.co.uk. They will make their way onto Canny as well. We will do that, so don't worry, it won't get forgotten if you don't go through that route. So that's it for this version 2.12 release update video. It's been a bit of a long one, which I do apologize for, but I hope it's got lots of features and functionality that you will find useful. Any feedback on anything or any sort of problems or issues, drop them through to our support email address, which is on screen, support@salus3.co.uk. So thank you again, and see you next time.